I'm Jay-Z.
I'm Daniel.
This is just my DIY.
This is not our first Glowforge project.
This is also not our first succulent project.
But it will be our first leather project.
And we're going to use the Glowforge to make succulents out of leather.
We're going to explore some beginner level leather working techniques.
We're going to show you how to cut out the leather on the Glowforge, wet form it, paint it, and glue it together.
This was all inspired because there was a new purse that needed some personality.
To make a little bag charm for a new tote, yes. But then we realized they're equally as cute inside these little pots. So however you want to use your leather succulents, we're going to show you how to make them right now. We're going to get started by cutting the leather on the Glowforge, and first we have to prep it. We got this on Amazon. It's a very high quality leather with not that many fuzzies on the back. So we cut it down to 20 inches and it's already 12 wide. So now we're just going to get it masked.
We're masking it to prevent any of the burn smoke marks from traveling across the leather, making something for us to clean up. Burnishing it down with a felt tipped squeegee.
It's really important to get all the bubbles and extra little flappy bits out. Those can cause problems in the Glowforge, so make it as smooth as you can.
And because it was rolled up, you can see it trying to curl up in there. So we took a hold of some painter's tape and a couple of little clips and secured it down.
We did forget to measure, so we're going to grab our calipers real quick and get an accurate measurement so we can make sure that everything works smoothly once we get inside the Glowforge program. Of course, we're going to need a cut file, and we got this one on Creative Fabrica. We will link this and all materials down below.
Now, of course, these things come in grouped, so we're going to move them in and resize them into the Glowforge software.
We're picking two different ones. We want them to be two different sizes. This one's going to be a little smaller, so obviously make them whatever size you're looking for. All of the techniques will be the same.
We go in and ungroup them so that we can move each piece out and organize it on both.
And before we go any further, we are going to go ahead and set the material and everything. First, of course, because this is not proof grade, we're going to set the material thickness. This gives you an accurate view with the camera. And now we're going to use our Tandy leather settings. This isn't Tandy leather, but the speed of 200 and precision power of 100 worked really well for this particular leather that we had. So we get all those set as cut and then start organizing them on screen so we get the most use out of our piece of leather.
Now, these are supposed to be bag charms originally, so we needed to create a hanging design for them.
A little tab for the back.
Yeah, there we go. So we're going to go for a generic figure 8 shape, doubling the circles and then outlining them. We're not going for a thick outline. We don't want to be that much bigger than our original concept.
Of course, we do have the Glowforge Premium, and we find some of these features really helpful. So that's why we're doing this all inside the Glowforge. Now that we have our figure 8 outline, we'll just want to create a little circle that our string or chain, however we want to hang it, can go through. And we're going to make that 0.5 and then try to get it as centered as possible.
I'm going to change it over to a cut file.
After we group it.
That's right. And then we're going to double it because we want these things front and back. We're going to match the non-grain sides to each other. And we also need to make 2 of them, so we're doubling the double.
And the second one's a little bit smaller. Also note that we do flip one of them horizontally because front and back, we just want to make sure they do line up appropriately. So now that we have everything set, it is ready to be cut, which will take
4 minutes and 50 seconds.
So we head on over to the Glowforge, hit that magic button, and watch it cut. It was interesting to see the little shapes try to pop up. Everything cut fine, totally clean, but it was interesting to see that happen inside the Glowforge.
Now we got to unmask all of it.
We have noticed that if we leave masking on leather too long, it makes the front side a little fuzzy, so definitely get it off as soon as you take it out of the Glowforge.
And that includes on any leather that you're not actually using for your project.
Yes. Now on to wet forming leather.
Now they need to be wet and dampened or even thoroughly soaked at times.
This is pretty thin leather, so we did both the dunking method and just wetting it with our hands. Both worked perfectly fine.
We're using the edges of a paintbrush to create the molding so that we're going to hold it in place, and once it finally holds that shape by itself, we're going to move on to the next one.
This actually went a lot quicker than I thought. I thought I was gonna have to hold these for like 5 minutes a piece, and as you can see, even though this is sped up just a little bit, it didn't take very long. You just want to hold it long enough for that form to hold, and then adjust until you're happy with it, and then set it down to dry thoroughly. For these smaller pieces in the larger succulent, which is what we're working on here, we did use a smaller paintbrush because we needed a much smaller taper. Then we also ended up just honestly balling it up a little bit in the hands like this and holding it for probably about maybe 30 seconds or so to get that middle piece the way we wanted it. Moving on to the smaller succulent.
We're going ahead and use marble-sized circular spheres.
Ball. We're just using a ball. This is actually a potpourri ball.
Wow. It's going to smell good in the end, too.
So getting that basic round shape and then bending as needed with the fingers.
And of course, massaging it into place. The smaller the piece gets, the smaller our spherical influence becomes.
And then for this one, we really wanted it to have that like big ball look to it. So we stacked them all together and then squeezed them one last time before we set them out to dry. As you can see, these are their current shapes.
About 6 hours later, we realized that we missed a step.
We probably should have knocked off, like wiped off the char from the laser before we wet formed, but it was fine. Honestly, these shapes held so well. Even working on these edges like this, it didn't affect the shaping at all. So once we got the char off, we then wanted to put some painter's tape in the middle of these flowers. That's because this is where the glue is going to be, and we didn't want any paint, any sheen, anything in between the leather and the glue. So as you can see, we did it on the front as well as the back. Now we're going to grab our amazing acrylic paints. These are the Angelus paints. Give them a good shake. And we will link all these specific colors that we use down in the description.
We're going to go ahead and apply this to both sides of the succulent, the grain and the not grain side,
as well as the edges. This paint actually dried very quickly. I'm really messy when I paint, so I didn't care if I got paint all over my hands. It actually cleans up really well. It feels like a water-based paint, so cleanup was perfectly easy on my hands and surfaces that were not leather. I just like to get in there, get your hands dirty. So we wanted to add a little bit of dimension. On this bigger succulent, we did do like a gradient from dark to lighter with the paints by mixing a couple of colors. Then we added in just some flair on the leaves and stuff. For the pink succulent, we wanted to add some yellow around the edges and then of course blend that out so it's not so harsh, but also to give it some more dimension. Have fun with your paint job and just look at reference photos online if you need to.
glitter time.
It is. This glitter is so fun. I love how this looks on leather. So we wanted to add a little bit, not go overboard. Just a few little sparkles here and there. On the edges and such. And then once those were dry, we took them outside to
leather sheen. Caution, danger, extreme danger.
This kind of seals and protects and gives it a little bit of shine. So of course we do it on the back as well as the front. And once each side dried, we did go ahead and pull off the painter's tape just so those didn't like cure on there or anything weird. Again, spraying on the front, letting it dry, and then we can be ready for the glue up.
The choice of glue is going to be leather cement. It's what you're supposed to use if you're not sewing. So it's apply leather cement to the bald areas.
On each side, I think it's very important to say you apply the glue to each side you're gluing together and then wait.
About 5 minutes and squeeze. Now, it will tack very quickly, so try and get it into the posture that you want. Hold it for about 30 seconds and move along. This stuff will not let go.
So we continue doing this leather cement on each side, letting it get tacky and then pressing them together. Of course, adding our little tabs on the back to make the tote bag charms. And once everything got glued up and tabs on the back, we had our leather succulents.
You can see them not on a purse. And on a purse. Gives it some personality. Little persuasion.
That's awesome. The Glowforge made it so easy for us to make these adorable little succulents. So don't forget, if you are in the market for a Glowforge, we have a referral code down in the description, which will give you up to $500 off your own machine.
So if you like the video, click that like button, subscribe and ring the bell. Tell us in the comment line your favorite way to use your custom-made cactus. And of course, everything that we use to do this is listed down in the description.
Also in the description are links to all of our social handles. Please connect with us across platforms. We love hearing from you. And don't forget to check out our blog at justmydiy.com.
Yeah, it could be a necklace too.
It could be. Absolutely. You could turn these into a necklace. Thanks for watching.
Earrings. An eye patch.
Just give me a high five.